All right, today we're going way, way back, all the way to the dawn of AI. We're going to talk about a simple yet incredibly powerful idea that really started it all, the perceptron. It's basically the original artificial neuron, the ancient ancestor of all the massive neural networks that are changing our world today. So let's just dive right in.
So take a look at this. You've got two groups of data points, right? Blue circles over here, red triangles over there. For you, for a human, it's instantly obvious how you'd separate them. But how would a computer figure this out? I mean, seriously, how would you write a program that could look at this picture and reliably sort any new dot you give it? To say, yep, that's a blue circle, or nope, that one's a red triangle. This is the core problem of classification, and it's the exact puzzle the perceptron was created to solve.
So, how does a machine do it? Well, the answer is, surprisingly, almost ridiculously simple.
It's a line. That's it. The easiest way to split these two groups is to just draw a straight line right between them. Anything that falls on one side we'll call a blue dot, anything on the other is a red triangle. Simple as that.
And that really is what a perceptron is at its heart. It's a line drawer. It's a machine whose entire job is to look at data and find that one perfect line that splits everything into two clean groups.
Okay, so for the more formal definition, you could say a perceptron is a linear classifier, a computer model made to mimic how a brain might recognize patterns. But honestly, just keep line drawer in your head. That's the key idea. So how does this line drawer actually, think? How does it decide where to draw that line? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside. Okay, whoa. This looks pretty complex with all the symbols and arrows, but don't worry about it. This diagram shows the whole thought process, and we're going to break it down into 4 really easy steps. So here are the 4 parts. We've got inputs, that's just the data it's looking at. Then weights, which is how important each piece of data is. Third is summation, where it adds everything up. And finally, the decision, where it makes the final call. Let's tackle them one by one. First step, inputs. This is super straightforward. It's just the information you feed the machine. So for our dot puzzle, the inputs for any single dot would just be its location on the graph, its x and y coordinates. Second, we have weights. Now, this is cool. Think of these as importance knobs. For each input, the perceptron has a knob it can turn. It uses these knobs to decide how much attention to pay to that piece of info. A really high weight means this is super important. The machine actually learns by figuring out how to adjust these knobs. Part 3 is summation. This is just some basic math. The perceptron takes each input, multiplies it by its importance knob, its weight, and then it just adds all those results together. That's it. You end up with one single number, one final score. And that final score brings us to the last step, the decision. After adding everything up, the perceptron uses a really simple function, like this one here. It's called a step function, to make its final choice. And the rule is incredibly simple. If that final score is a positive number, it shouts Group A. Maybe that's the red triangles. If the score is negative, it shouts Group B, the blue dots. It's just a simple yes or no, one or the other. All right, theory's great and all, but let's actually see this thing work. We're going to give our perceptron its first real test, solving a classic problem from computer logic called the AND gate. So here's the deal with an AND gate. It has 2 inputs, and the output is only true, or a 1, if both the first input and the second input are 1. Any other combination, and the output is false, or 0. So can our little line drawer learn this rule? And yes, it absolutely can. Check it out. If we plop these 4 possible outcomes on a graph, the perceptron has no trouble at all drawing one single straight line to separate the one true answer from the 3 false ones. Easy. Problem solved. Okay, so the perceptron is looking pretty smart, right? It can learn basic logic, but it has a very famous and very critical weakness. It's a problem that actually stumped the entire field of AI for years. On the left, there's our nice, easy AND problem. But on the right, that's a whole other beast. It's called the XOR problem, which stands for exclusive OR. With XOR, the output is true only if one of the inputs is true, but not both. And this creates a huge headache for our line drawer. Just look at this XOR graph. See how the true and false points are positioned? They're diagonal to each other. Now, try in your head to draw one single straight line that cleanly separates the two groups. You can't do it. No matter where you draw it, you'll always have something on the wrong side. It's impossible. And this discovery proved that a single perceptron just wasn't powerful enough. But that leaves one last really important question. We know a perceptron draws a line, but how in the world does it find the right line to begin with? This is where the real magic happens. It learns from its mistakes. The whole process is actually kind of beautiful. First, it just makes a totally random guess. It draws a line anywhere. Second, it checks its work. It asks, are there any red triangles on the blue side of my line? Any blue dots on the red side? Third, if it finds a mistake, it just nudges the line a little bit to try and fix it. And finally, it just does that over and over and over again until it lands on a line that perfectly separates everything. Now this shows the formal algorithm. Yeah, it looks like a bunch of complicated math, but all it's really saying is that guess, check, and nudge process we just talked about. It's just the mathematical way of saying, every time you make a mistake, adjust those importance knobs a little bit until you stop making mistakes. And that's the perceptron. It might be simple and it might have its limits, but this core idea, taking in some data, using weights to think about it, and then learning from your mistakes, that was the spark. It was the first crucial step on the very long road to the deep, complicated neural networks that power so much of our world. So, the next time you use an AI, just remember its humble, line-drawing ancestor.